Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames, or welcome back to Locked On Flames. We have a special Saturday edition here, and I'm joined with Auddie to have a little heart to heart, if you will. And we got to talk about Johnny, so let's do it.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jess Belmosto of the Metropolitan Riveters Public Relations team. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Flames your first listen of the day. As always, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Stitcher, Spotify, Audible, Apple, Odyssey, you name it. And we're also free 99 on YouTube. And like I mentioned, we are joined by the one and only Auddie James today to talk a little bit about number 13.
I liked that a lot, eh? We're going to have a little heart to heart. I was
Yeah.
chuckling backstage waiting to come back on just to talk about that because I was like taking a sip of my coffee over here and I just about had to spit it out because that was very well done. Thank you
Thank you.
for that. That was I didn't know I needed to hear that.
I do. Okay, I lost my connection. What happened? Okay, we're back. Technical difficulties. Oh my god. Okay. But yeah, so heart to heart with Johnny. We gotta talk about it.
We do. It's I don't know. I've been tooting the horn about it. I've been kind of a bit of a pest lately on Twitter talking about it. It's kind of consumed my timeline and everybody else's timeline just because he's having an MVP caliber season. This is the best season we've seen out of Johnny Gaudreau. He's tied his career high in points. I put out actually a pretty decent tweet about it, about his projections. He's projected to finish with 114 points this year. And I think the split was 39 goals, 75 assists, which he's already beaten his career high in assists. I think 63 was his career high, and I think he's at 65 now. Goals, I think his career high was, I can't remember, 30, mid 30s.
36, yeah. So he's right there.
He's right there. So like he's going to beat these records, and he's sitting at 99 points. That's his career high in points. Barring anything ridiculously crazy that would forbid him from getting one more point, he's going to break his records, and he's going to do it in considerable fashion, seeing as if those projections stand to be true. I mean, he could finish with more, he could finish with less, but we're looking at one of the best productive seasons all around too, not just offensively, from a Flames forward in quite some time. And I don't know if you followed this team all the way back to the number 12 days, but it's
similar.
It's very promising. It's nice to see that he's the next one, if you will, in Calgary, and we'll see what happens this summer with that. But getting flashes of what Jerome was able to do. I mean, they're two different styles of player, but I'm getting Jerome vibes from Johnny Gaudreau.
That does sound very promising because I think last season there was just so much dread and negativity around the team. And I think everybody, at least like I remember people on my timeline saying, you know what, like I really wouldn't blame Johnny if he doesn't resign here. There is so much more out there for him, and you can't blame the guy for that. And then the season happens. 99 points.
He came out like a bat out of hell. It's I don't know what to attribute it to. I think the one thing that I always come back to is, and it might be a cop out at this point because so many people attribute so many positive things on this team to this one point, and it's the Darryl Sutter system. Like this Johnny Gaudreau is playing the best hockey of his career and probably the best hockey of his life right now. He's, productive on both ends. That's kind of something I briefly touched on there about talking about his points. Not only is he lighting up the point sheet every single night, but how many times have we seen Johnny Backchecker go into the dirty areas where he doesn't
Right.
usually find himself, right? It's kind of a new version of himself, and I'm here for it. I'm
I
I'm
love it.
all for our short king going into the corners and playing the puck out. Actually, it was a couple nights ago
It was
against the
against the
Sharks.
Kings.
Or
Oh,
the
even
I'm
better.
thinking about the Sharks play. It was funny as hell because he was back checking with Anderson, and Anderson lost the step on the guy coming in. I can't remember who it was, but John grabs his stick and he just propels Anderson forward, and then he got him to his man. So he just, I don't know. It's just those small little things, and I know you see that all the time in the NHL. People, it's not like a new play. Like lots of players use their stick to propel players forward or pick
But
up
it's
another
new
player's
for
stick.
Johnny.
But John's not your typical like two-way forward or like plays both sides of the puck.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden this year we're seeing him come out of his shell and back check and be hard on the forecheck. It's just, I don't know. I could go on and on and on just talking about all these little things that he's doing. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, has the defensive game kind of gone to a place where you don't like it, where it hasn't been?
Yeah, I mean, I am very impressed with the amount of two-way forwards that this team has. And, I think Elias Lindholm is going to win a Selke trophy at some point in his
Most
career.
underrated player in the league.
Underrated and
Don't even at me.
underpaid. But
Yes.
we will keep you at the price you are at right now. Thank you. But
Mhm.
it's so encouraging to see John play at this new level and kind of, this it has to be like a newfound confidence for him too, because he's probably like, "Oh, I didn't know I could do this."
Mhm.
You can.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
always
there's
been
that
there.
there's that and the fact, like a lot of people will chalk it up to it's a contract year. Um, and to those people, I'm not gonna name names, especially certain people at certain networks. But yeah, just like take that notion and just throw it out the window. Like this guy has always had this in him, like you said.
Right. Like you don't hit 99 points because it's a contract year.
It's no coincidence.
Like you do, correlation doesn't always equal causation, and like I don't know. I think that that's absolutely asinine to think that, oh, he's just doing this because he wants to get paid. No. Last year, we saw a different version of Johnny. And then people were worried about him fitting into the Sutter system. And I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
It's a system that this group hasn't had or seen yet, like this core. And remember, we
Right.
talked about the core last year and how they need to blow it up and start from scratch. Just a quick note about that.
Yeah.
I was one of those people. I'll
I
be
was
the
one of
first
those
to admit it. This
people.
core can't do it, and here we are. You just had to remove one piece of that core, and I guess we won't talk too
It
much. I feel bad
happened.
for Sean, but um, yeah, it's this system. It's a system that this team hasn't seen. It's a system, like it's the system that they needed.
Right.
Let's be frank here. It's like they needed the Darryl Sutter system and Brad Treliving, chef's kiss. Like I could hug the man. Uh,
Right.
I know you're in the United States. You might know. Well, you probably do know that his father owns this popular restaurant chain in Canada called Boston Pizza. Um,
So that's where
I
the
don't know if
Boston pizza jokes came
Yes. So
from. Okay.
the Boston Pizza jokes. His dad is Jim Treliving, who's on the
Cool.
Canadian version of Shark Tank called Dragon's Den. Um, so Jim owns the Boston Pizza franchises, all the
Okay.
chain restaurants. So that's why everybody. Anyway, to make a long story short, I've been consuming more Boston Pizza lately than I should, just because I'm trying to show support for the man after after kind of criticizing him for the better part of the last 3 years for some
But
of the
like
things that he's done.
rightfully so.
Yeah, I've
Which is
made
a
it up
whole
to him
nother
though.
episode we could talk about how he potentially saved his legacy
Oh, he was on thin ice, and this year he may have just earned himself like I don't know, a pretty decent keep here. But yes, long story short, I've been very impressed with everything Brad's done, including bringing in Darryl, and that has since increased my pizza bread and Thai chicken bites consumption.
No shame
All
in
my
that.
Canadians will know that.
Oh, honestly, that sounds really good. But we're going to take a quick break here, and then there is something very specific I want to touch upon because there was a narrative surrounding Johnny,
Mm.
and I want to touch on it, especially as we're here and seeing his success because I have a lot to say. As you, I mean, are we shocked? No. But before we do that, let's talk about Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting stats and info. Find all of your latest sports development, league reviews, news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of Major League Baseball season. Yeah, go Blue
Go Blue
Jays.
Jays.
Yeah, this is a Canadian show. Go Blue Jays. Bet Online is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. They have reality TV betting, and that's just like one of my favorite things. And I haven't done it, but I need to find a 90-day fiance, like just like something I can bet on, like a divorce. I don't
Over
know.
under how many months they stay together for.
Exactly. But head to the website today on your mobile device or your computer, your Leapfrog, your iPad, whatever, to learn more about trends and actions. Bet online, where the game starts. So I feel
Can I
like,
quickly say something about your reality TV thing?
yes,
Just a quick little story about that. I'm sure people
I
will
love
love to
it.
hear this.
Yes.
My buddies and I, being the fantasy sports junkies we are, a few years ago decided to do a fantasy draft for The Bachelor. Um,
Oh my God.
where we would watch all the girls come in and we would be like, okay, we think this person, you should have seen us with our notebooks. And then at the end of the first, or we paused it through the middle of the first episode when everybody came. And then we did a fantasy draft where we drafted a team, a roster of the contestants. And as they got eliminated, your list got shorter and shorter. And what we did, instead of throwing in a 6-pack of beer, we did like a 6-pack of Smirnoffs or Bacardi Breezers, just like a fruity drink of your choice. And
I
yeah,
love
so
it.
that's my little fantasy story about The
That's
Bachelor.
incredible. I love it. I love how creative people get with their like TV shows and
I'll tell you, we were more into it than we were that year of fantasy football, which is saying something.
it's incredible. I love it. So when I first agreed to start covering the Flames, there was
Mhm.
one narrative that I'd ever heard. Johnny wants to go back east. Johnny hates Calgary.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't want to stay here. He
I wonder
can't
where you
win.
heard that from. Where or who you heard that from?
Right. I, and then when I started like doing digging, I realized it was literally just this one person saying
Yeah.
all of these things. And I was
Yeah.
like, what is your weird vendetta against this 5'9" hockey player?
The best part about it too, I think, not to cut you off,
No.
is that the Gaudreaus on Twitter absolutely troll the living crap out of this guy
Yes.
because they're very active. I'll give them that. The Gaudreaus are very active amongst the Flames community on Twitter.
Yes.
Um,
Shout out to Jim.
obviously, yeah, Uncle Jim, he's one of the beauties. John's mom, Jane, obviously
Yep.
very active as well. His sisters, liking and following and replying to people's tweets, but they see it.
They do.
They see it, and they know that he's like completely out to lunch.
That's fine with me. At least
Oh,
they're
me too.
aware. I
Yeah.
love it. Because I think that's one of the things that a lot of players, like at least in the Boston market, a lot of them like Tuukka Rask, he never
Mm,
read anything
probably
that
for the
was written
best. I'm
about
not involved in that market, but I know that there wasn't a lot of nice things written
him.
about him.
Yeah, like nothing. He never read it. Like, and whatever. Like that's I do not blame you because I hyperfixate when people leave me comments. I'm like, whoa, relax.
I
But
hear you.
um this one reporter, if you want to call him that.
Yeah.
The bar
We'll
is
we'll we'll
hell.
put that in air quotes for those
Yeah.
listening back on the podcast.
He said back in 2018, I believe it was 2018-2019 season, that John would never ever reach that kind, like 99 points again.
Yep. He
How's
sure
that crow
did.
tasting?
Yeah, he also said he was waiting for Dylan Dubé. Dylan Dubé was going to break out that year. How's that bottom? I'll give him credit. He's been playing a lot better the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But how's that bottom six treating you, Dylan? Oh man, I don't want to crap on the guy. He's good, or
No.
he's a good guy, is what I mean.
Yeah, he's a
But
good
but
guy.
but to like he's just so out of touch. I don't know how someone can be so connected to this market, covering this team for decades, and you're just so out of touch. So out of touch. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in the Gaudreau household or in that locker room whenever this
He's in
individual
there
uh,
doing
starts
quotes.
asking questions. And oh man, yeah, that narrative though, to think he's never going to hit 99 points again, it's not a coincidence that he did it in the first place. You know, it's not often, unless your name is Jamie Benn, that you see players, reach a certain plateau of goals or assists or points,
Right.
and they have career highs and then they just never even come close again. That's not usually how it works, especially when you're in the prime of your career, like if you're John Gaudreau. Um, and yeah, just to think that he was never going to hit 99 points again. Like, players go through ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and Gaudreau is one of those players that just he shows up for big games. And maybe the last year wasn't great, the year before wasn't fantastic. 18-19 was obviously very good for a lot of people on that team, but yeah, it's to try to assume that he's never going to hit 99 points again, like,
That's
pull
so
your head
funny.
out of your rear end and get a grasp on reality here. Like, this guy is legit. Like, Johnny
Right.
Gaudreau is the real deal.
And that's the thing is, like, even my friends that I have, like, propaganda on Twitter, but, like, they've started following the Flames, and they're
Right.
like, "We would kill to have a Gaudreau on our team."
Right.
Correct, because you are a sound-minded, logical individual. Like,
I think
you
anybody would. You'd be pretty out to
you'd be
lunch to
set.
think that your team couldn't use a Johnny Gaudreau.
Right. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why anyone would be like, "He's washed. He's this." Well, it's not to bring up Sean Monahan again, because I feel like
Mm,
all I do is drag this man
I
through the
know.
mud.
I know. It's just I feel so bad, but
And it's nothing personal. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being.
that's okay. Can I quickly park some time for that?
Yes, please
Okay,
do.
people need to understand that because I read some of the comments about the last time I was on and we were talking about Sean Monahan, and people seem to think that we just have this vendetta out against Sean. I'm going to quote, Ryan Pinder said it best, because the morning show here in Calgary, they talk a lot about it. And, everybody draws the same conclusion that Sean Monahan isn't the same person, or same, not some same person, same player that he was some short time ago, 20, 30 goal guy.
Right,
But you're allowed to critique the player, but still respect the person.
right,
We're never coming after Sean Monahan's character. We're never coming after Sean Monahan as a person, because, quite frankly, he's a very nice person. I've had the privilege to meet him, a dozen times in this market, and he's been, obviously he's very monotone, but that's just his personality. But he's super nice. He'll
right,
stop and he takes pictures with fans. He talks with people. Very respectful. Like, there's a reason he wears the A on his chest.
right.
And there's a reason why everybody in the locker room rallies behind him. He's a good voice. He's a good leader. Anyway, to keep this short, you can critique the player, but still respect the person. Just like
Exactly.
at your job, you might be a very good person. Doesn't mean you're a fantastic worker, right?
Right,
You're still going to get criticism if you're not doing your job properly. Doesn't mean you're a bad person or we're
right.
coming after your character. I don't
Sometimes
know. It's
you
just,
just
you
have
got to put
down
that into
days,
perspective.
down
Exactly.
seasons. Like, and this is the thing, I have said this for a long time. No one on this earth is immune from criticism.
No.
So when I'm out here critiquing, like last season, it was Gaudreau, Tkachuk, like Monahan. It was never personal.
No, and it never is.
It never is because, like,
Unless you're Evander Kane.
right. Like, then we're gonna get a little
Then
personal.
it's a little more fisticuffs.
But there's no reason to think like, oh, she's praising Sean Monahan for this, or oh, they're only doing this because of that. Like, no, we watch
Yeah,
hockey. This is part of our lives. We do this regularly.
we do.
It just these are our opinions.
Yeah, that's the best part about it is, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but the craziest part is there's just this slim majority of people that were so defendant of Sean, and everything was so personal, and like I wish I could just at people, but I can't because there's a handful of people that were just always in my replies and in my mentions saying, you need to be easier on the guy. Not to get too far off the topic
No.
of Johnny Gaudreau on this episode, but um, you know, Monahan's criticism was warranted. We talked about that before on the last episode that I was
Mhm.
featured on. But we're not coming after his character. I think that's where I'll leave it there for the
Yeah.
Monahan discussion.
Yeah. Obviously
It
best
was
to
never personal. That's what I'm trying to say. It was never
right, like, it
personal.
was literally never personal. But, we will take a quick break, so, we can wrap up the show with some more goodness and just Johnny Gaudreau love, but yes, so Rock Auto is a literal lifesaver. I'm so glad that they are one of our sponsors. My car is an older car and my windows don't roll down, but I found out what I needed, went to rockauto.com and saved about like $200 on my window motor rotator thing. I don't know what they're called. But they are a family business that I am happy to support, and they have been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, new carpet, a window machinery. And you can definitely check them out at rockauto.com. Their website is incredibly easy to explore, and all you have to do is go to rockauto.com. Uh, and if you do decide to buy something, this is where it gets fun. You go to rockauto.com right now, see all the parts they have available for your car, truck, write locked on in their how did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you. It's that simple. So Rock Auto has an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Boom.
Good old Johnny. Good old
Boom.
Johnny.
Johnny, yeah. So I'm gonna quickly, and I know you probably have a list of things to talk about, but I'm gonna give you a statement right now,
Okay.
and I want you to tell me true or false and explain your reasoning. I'm putting you on the spot here, Jess.
Okay.
Not to there's no pressure. Just take a deep breath. We'll be okay.
We will
Okay.
disable the comments on this video.
Yes, we will
I'm
be
just, we're
disabling.
just kidding.
Okay, here it is. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
Johnny Gaudreau is currently the second best American player in the NHL, only behind Austin Matthews.
True.
Right? That's
True.
that's my answer. And this is kind of where I wanted to spin it, like a little bit of engagement. And I know people comment, I know people listen. Maybe we could spin this to a bit of engagement. We'll explain why we think so. And then maybe, you guys could answer. You can either DM us, you could tweet at us, you could reply to the video on YouTube, you could leave us a really nice review and then say, hey, I agree with your take on Gaudreau and Matthews on
Right.
your desired podcatcher. But yeah, I don't know. I've been doing a lot of reflecting about it lately, just because like this Hart discussion has really revolved heavily around Austin Matthews, and for very good reason. He's
Right.
got 56 goals on the year for, it's no coincidence that this guy's finding the back of the net 56 times in this season. He's gonna hit over 60. They got 11 games left.
Without a
I
doubt.
say he hits over 60. But behind him, people talk about, like, just looking at the scoring race. Everybody talks about Draisaitl. Everybody's talking about McDavid. So there's
Power
been
play
some
merchants.
discussion. Yeah, then that's it. That's where it comes back to even strength, and we could talk a bit about that too. But in the discussion of the best American-born players in today's NHL, we're talking about right this second.
2022.
Austin Matthews is the best American-born player, followed up by Johnny Gaudreau.
I 200% agree. I think that it's very fair to say that. I mean, how many other players are even close to, either of their skill levels? And it doesn't even matter if you're, what market you're in. I think that, your talent will speak for itself.
Yeah. I'm just trying to pull up some statistics. Looking at Quant Hockey, they're a very good resource for all-time lists and whatnot. So people will argue Patrick Kane, probably. I would say right now Johnny Gaudreau and I are both better than Patrick Kane. He does sit
100%.
at fifth all time on the American-born points. Active player, Phil Casey, Stastny. Paul Stastny's American? I could he was Canadian. Was his
I
dad
did not know that.
Oh, either way.
Probably.
I didn't know that either. Maybe I thought for sure he was
I
Canadian,
would
but
have thought he was Canadian.
I digress. But yeah, just looking at this all-time list, like Johnny Gaudreau sits 48th all-time on the points list for American-born players. Obviously Matthews played
That's top 100.
yeah, it's top 50, which is good
Yeah,
too.
top 50.
But yeah, anyway, just to like get back on the point, I was just looking for my own knowledge. Like, who else
Yeah.
would people argue? Probably Patrick Kane. And then where do they go from there? Like, where do you think people go from there? Because like I think it's a two-headed race, and that's it.
I think they sit there and scratch their head and say Paul Stastny's American. I don't know.
I think everybody's going to be more stuck on that point than anything else.
Right.
But right now,
I
like
just
behind, like let's look at it this way: top 6 players in the points race right now in the NHL: Canadian, German, American, and 2 of those Americans are Johnny Gaudreau and Austin Matthews. Gaudreau is sitting in 4th. Matthews is sitting in 5th. Any guesses without looking who's sitting in 6th? American-born.
I know it's not Patrick Kane.
And it's not Paul Stastny.
Who is it?
None other than Matthew Tkachuk, quietly sitting in 6th place here with 89 points. So that would be probably your top 3 American players right now: Austin Matthews, Johnny Gaudreau, and Matthew Tkachuk. Who says no?
Not me.
Who says no? Top 3 American-born players right now. 2 of them are on the Calgary Flames. Like, right. Hello?
And that's not like Flames bias. It's a literal.
No, it's just facts.
It's just right there.
We're looking like they're the 3 like I told you, it's Canadian. So it goes McDavid, Huberdeau, Draisaitl, Gaudreau, Matthews, Tkachuk, and then some guy named Mitch Marner and Kirill Kaprizov.
Anyways, yeah, no, like those. That's very fair. I think that that is a conversation to be had. I saw a tweet the other night when Matthews hit 55 goals. It was like he's the best American-born player of all time, and probably
he could finish as one of the best American-born players of all time. Right. I could agree with that. I mean, Patrick Kane would probably argue with that earlier in his career, but
yeah,
I don't know how much
true.
I'm a fan of that guy.
I always forget about Patrick Kane.
Yeah, because we just like to forget about that organization.
Right. So like that's partially like my bias there, but like yeah, Patrick Kane did have a very successful career early on, and that speaks to his talent and ability. But we've moved on. We are years removed from that dynasty and whatnot. So we got to start looking at, the
new blood for American-born players. Yeah. And I don't know, I just thought it would be a fun topic of conversation because, like, you talk about the best American-born 1-2 Matthews and Gaudreau. It's also pretty, it would a lot of people's heart ballots. Unfortunately, you or I don't get one. We are not members of the PHWA, but not yet, at least. There's still time, but that could very well be a lot of people's 1-2 on the Hart Trophy ballots. There's a lot of people that I know. Frank Saravalli has been talking about it a lot on Daily Faceoff. Even in Canada, Elliot Friedman has been talking a lot about it too. That reporter that we will not mention, he does get a vote, and he's kind of eating his words and saying Gaudreau would be on the top of his ballot too. So it's going to be interesting. We talk to wrap it up and bring it back to the Hart conversation, which is kind of what we were wanting to talk about this whole episode. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens here because everybody defaults to McDavid, and I get it. He's disgusting.
Right.
He's currently God's gift to hockey. Will admit it in this market. He's very, very talented.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm jealous because I would love a guy like that on my team.
Especially on our unsuccessful power play.
That's it. Anyways, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because there's just so many players that are having, like, if you take McDavid out of Edmonton, this could go for a whole other episode. If you take McDavid out of Edmonton, you still got Draisaitl, right? So, like, who is he really the MVP of the team?
No.
Maybe. You take Matthews out of Toronto, you're losing a 56 goal scorer. Sure, you got Matthews, you got Tavares, who's been good but not great. But, like, what else you got there? Marner is good, but same thing goes with Gaudreau. You take Gaudreau out of Calgary. I mean, sure, you got Tkachuk and Lindholm, but Gaudreau drives that line.
Put on that top line.
That's it. Gaudreau drives that line. Who you putting Mangiapane up there? He's great, but he's falling off the wagon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it goes to the MVP, most valuable player to their team, as voted by the
not
record.
In the league, in their team.
Yeah, people seem to mess up the verbiage of the Hart Trophy, and that's another discussion too. Is that a lot of people want there to be two separate MVPs, MVP of the season and MVP to your team, most valuable player to your team, which I can understand the argument for. But for the context of this, the Hart Trophy is the most valuable player to your team. So keep that in mind when you're trying to discuss Hart conversation.
I would easily say that it's Gaudreau. I don't know. I think that, I mean, obviously, I think it's going to be, McDavid or Draisaitl. Like, both of them have won in the last 2 years.
Yeah, they have. I want it to go Matthews Gaudreau 1-2. I think that's realistic.
I think that it's fair to say that, like, it should be. I hate praising Austin Matthews, but Matthews, Gaudreau. I think
that's Matthews.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. But this is 2 episodes in a row now. I've said nice things about him. That's
enough Matthews praise for some people's lifetime, I would say.
Honestly, like, I don't think I've ever said anything nice about that man until today or yesterday. But yeah, no, I think that if you aren't voting that way, you're not understanding what the Hart Trophy is.
Yep, I would agree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm, they're hosting, just to get a little bit off topic, but on the same topic, they're hosting the NHL awards at whatever team is hosting the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're hosting it at that city, or it's taking place during the finals. Sorry, so whoever's whatever it lines up, like, when Calgary inevitably makes it, is it going to be in Calgary or is it going to be in Florida? So, yeah, I would say a lot of people would like Florida over Calgary, but, it doesn't matter because Johnny Gaudreau is not going to be there to accept his Hart Trophy. He'll be playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. Him and Lindholm won't be able to get his Selke, and Markey won't be able to get his Vezina, and Sutter won't be able to get his Jack Adams.
Exactly. I think that this team has just blown the expectations out of the water. This is what people thought last year was going to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah. Good things happen to those who wait. And
exactly.
we've been waiting.
And,
we've been waiting.
Sutter coming in is just so important. And, I was nervous about it, especially when I had heard that they locked him out of the bathroom or the locker room. I was like, oh, that's great. Can't wait for the Flames
Yeah.
to do that. Yay. But, I think it's, he knew he saw, he would not have left retirement if he did not see potential in this team.
As if I can formulate a sentence here, it takes a lot for someone to say the only team that they were interested in coming out of retirement and coaching is the Calgary Flames. And I don't know if that's because he's up on his ranch in Viking, Alberta, just like for proximity's sake, or if he just genuinely loves the Calgary Flames. And I think it's because he genuinely loves the Calgary Flames and he knows what this team is capable of. And he was kind of lurking in the shadows, just watching this team and seeing, I could do this with Gaudreau. I could do this with so-and-so. I could do this and this and this and this. And everything's kind of coming to fruition, and
And
this
that's
team's
why it happened so quickly, because he's known.
right.
He's been plotting
Oh
for
yeah,
years.
he's been behind the scenes plotting this
Yeah.
for such a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure that, he's been waiting that phone call because it feels like the Flames were just going through coaches.
Hey Brad,
But
it's about time you called.
yeah, literally.
Been
Um,
waiting.
but is there anything you have to say or add before we wrap up today's show?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything that I wanted to bring up, and I guess I'll leave you with this. Put some more respect on Johnny Gaudreau's name. That
Give
is
him a
all.
blank check.
That is all, and he will write his and then that's it. Yeah, you just gotta pay the man in the offseason, but put some more respect on the name of John Gaudreau, and that's
John
it.
Michael.
John
John
Michael Gaudreau.
That's a
Please and thank you.
terrifying name. If I heard my mom say that, I'd come running down the stairs like, "Yeah, what'd I do? What'd I get?"
Big time, like, mafia name, John Michael
Right?
Gaudreau.
Mhm.
I'm sure the Gaudreaus are very friendly.
I'm
They're
sure they're
not affiliated with the mob.
just because 'cause they're Italian and from New Jersey.
It was pretty, that was a bad comparison without thinking it through.
No, it's okay. Sorry.
Just put some more respect on his name and don't listen to
Yeah,
anything else I've said. That's it.
it's okay. Yes, so again, it just love the Gaudreaus, love John, just appreciate him and realize that there are people out there who want him on their
Mhm,
team, and if you're not gonna
mhm.
appreciate him, kinda like a boyfriend, somebody else will. Uh, but, I think it's safe to say that, he is easily the most valuable player to the Flames. Um, I think if it wasn't for Matthew's successful season, we would have a Hart winner there, but, there's always next year, I guess. Um, ooh, score prediction for tonight in Seattle.
Whew. Okay, I'm going to say 5-1 Calgary.
Okay.
Seattle stinks. I'm sorry,
I know.
5-1 Calgary. They stink.
I was gonna say 4-2 Calgary,
Who's
so
even left? Who's even left in Seattle?
I truly don't know.
Let's.
They had team
I'll be
pictures.
watching for the Cali Yarncroke tribute video.
Great. Yeah, they had team pictures, and then Brandon Tanev was there, and I was like, "Does he even recognize his teammates?
Yeah, he's like, "Whoa, what happened
Where's
since I
everyone?
left?"
Am I in the right spot?"
Yeah.
But, thank you so much for joining me today, Auddie, I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Yes, absolutely, and I'll try to I know I've been so busy lately and I'm not making up my end of the deal here, but you know what? We're on the right track. We're
Yeah,
getting less and less busy, so we'll make
absolutely.
this happen more frequently.
Yes, and where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Auddie James, Auddie, and then James, James. I'll spell it out too. Um, yeah, you can find me on there. I've got another show called the Barn Burner Hockey Podcast with my good friend JJ, I think, who's been on the show before too. Um, so yeah, we talk about the Calgary Flames as well. What else am I up to? That's about it. I do play-by-play for junior hockey, but our team is out, so no more
Ooh.
play-by-play till next year. Well, kinda. I'm doing another tournament, but that's it. Find me on Twitter at Auddie James. That's it. That's my plug.
Thank you very much. You can find me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Find this podcast wherever you get your other shows, YouTube, it's free. And tune in on Monday because I'm sure we will have, or I'll have a recap of this wonderful extravaganza in Seattle.